Yes, yes. What's going on, good people? This is MC Till with everybody's hip hop label. You're tuned into another edition of the Boombap Chat. We're up to number 31. Very excited about that. If you're looking for some music and you don't know where to go, maybe it's pandemic time, you can't get out of the house, or whatever the reason is, you can always go over to everybody'srecords.com and get you some good music. They're a local independent not hip hop, local independent record store here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they are always supporting the hip hop scene. I also want to tell you all that you can pre-order our new book, the Boombap Review Volume 2. You can get Volume 1 as well, and you can get both of those at boombapreview.com. So make sure you do that tonight, please. So like I said, we're at Boombap Chat 31, and we have a most wonderful guest tonight. Very, very excited to welcome Sleep Sinatra to the Boombap Chat. Welcome. How are you, my friend?
Hey man, thank you again for having me. I'm doing well, bro. I'm doing well.
Right on, man. It's good to have you here. And as always, got the co-host Profound. Profound, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. What's up, Sleep? Nice to meet you, bro.
Hey, likewise, brother. Likewise. Glad to be here, man.
All right, Profound, we'll start with you. What have you been listening to this week?
Not Busta Rhymes. I'm gonna say that. How about that? No,
Oh
no,
no.
I'm tripping, man. Man, you know what? I've been dissecting the Busta Rhymes because
Yeah.
everything I hear keeps saying that it's top five and everything else. We're not gonna. I don't believe that this particular show is about whether or not I agree. Um, Uh, I am a huge Busta Rhymes fan. What I will say quickly before we move on is that I don't really agree with everybody else. I think that most people are confusing their excitement for nostalgia than that
Mm,
album being a top five album because I have tons of other Busta albums that is killing this one. I mean, don't get me wrong, it feels good to hear him. It really does. However, as a whole from the album, I like it. I'm just not as excited about putting it in a top five of anything. And I just think that he's needed, and it's refreshing to hear him right now. And I think that people's opinions might be more focused on nostalgia than it actually is because I personally like Benny the Butcher album better.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I think the tracks on it are a lot better. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion. Everybody
Yeah,
has
that's you. We respect it.
it.
Sleep
Respect.
Sinatra, how about you? What have you been listening to this week?
man, let's see. Definitely, yeah, definitely that Buster. Not real heavily. I do agree with Profound with it being, I'm not gonna say it's like upper echelon, like top five by any means that I've heard this year. I heard a lot of music this year, you know what I'm saying? But that nostalgia factor is what does it for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what does it for me. I agree it's needed right now. You know what I'm saying? It's very needed right now. That level of lyricism. I wasn't a fan of all the beats on there. You know what I mean? I'm somewhat of a purist to an extent, but and I feel like he kind of reached certain degrees and he might have recycled some stuff a little bit, you know what I mean, here and there. But overall, I was feeling that. Let's see, man. There's a young cat by the name of Amir Bilal. I've been
Hmm.
listening to him a lot. Check him out if you get a chance. He's a young
Okay.
dude. I don't even think he's in his 20s yet. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
wow.
Real young cat. Really putting on as far as like the underground circuit goes. Been tapped into him. And mostly a lot of my unreleased stuff too, man. I've been
Hmm.
working, trying to stay busy.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'm curious to know before we talk about Busta a little bit more. Are there some albums this year, Sleep, that you really really like albums that you think are up there in your top five?
Mm, yeah, man. Let's see. Vic Spencer, I believe, dropped the album called
Mm.
Psychological Cheat Sheet with my homie August Fanon. That album up is up there conceptually, you know what I'm saying? It kind of
Yeah.
sounds like August was the psychiatrist and Vic was
Mm.
his patient type shit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like uh thematically throughout it, man, it's top tier. Vic's pen is sharp. August always brings he's real jazzy, but hard hitting equally at the same time
Yeah.
type of beats. That's just like his vibe production wise, man. That's definitely been in rotation real heavily for me. Let's see. Man. I mean, like, I like some shit people wouldn't expect too, like Mozzie's new record. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if you're
Okay.
familiar with Mozzie or not. It's a cat from, I believe, San Francisco. Don't quote me on that. I know he's
Okay.
out there in the West Coast though, but
Right on.
he's spitting.
Dope.
Um, yeah, man, there's been a couple of them.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I've been on Busta Rhymes all week. I've been listening to not just the new one, but I had to go back. You know, even going back to Leaders of the New School, I was bumping some of that earlier
Word.
today. Um, and one of the things I love when an artist comes out who hasn't come out for a minute or whatever, when an artist comes out with an album that's good, even if it's not great, if it's good, I love going back. Like it takes me back to their other music, you know, and it just makes me appreciate their catalog that much more when they put out a good release. And you know, my frustration with this album is I feel like, you know, it's 22 tracks. And then they just put out the new bonus deluxe version,
Yeah, I was gonna
and it
say,
has four more tracks.
that's a lot of music, man.
That's a lot of music. So I feel like if I took that down to like 10, 11, 12 songs, like that's a darn near top 5 for the year. But because there's all that extra stuff on there that's just not as good in my opinion, it just kind of, you know, it weighs down the experience for me a little bit. But overall, I really like it. You know, it has that nostalgia you talk about. It has all the cats that I want. It has Q-Tip on there. You know, I'm not a huge Swiss Beats fan as far as his production. I even like the Swiss Beats beat on here. You know, it has Pete Rock is on there, Rakim setting it off. Like, there's just so much to like about this album. And you know, even though there's a lot of songs and there's probably some misses, you know, for anyone's palate, like there's still a bunch to like on it, you know. And I just like that he's created something with it. Like he's got everyone talking about. Like everyone's talking about this album, at least that from what I can tell. And so like I appreciate that. You know, he's a pioneer, and it's nice to see him get props like that. So yeah, so I like it. I'm feeling it.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Till's feeling Buster.
That's right. Now, will it take him another, 15 years to release another album?
Man, I don't know what that would sound like. Be real.
It'll sound like what it sounds like right now.
It'll be called Came and Went.
Yeah, I was uptight at the old Dirty song though. Like I really thought that it was gonna be some unreleased old Dirty. I mean, it sounds good, but I just thought, damn, I was just like, oh, let's get ready to, and it's like, oh, come on, man, this is not featuring Old Dirty Bastard, man.
Yeah, that's how I felt too, man. I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping it was some new Dirty, you know what I mean, or like some unreleased Dirty that we ain't hear. That's what I meant as far as like recycling some joints, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But he did his thing with the joint with Rap City and the joint with Kendrick Lamar. Like those two songs for me are phenomenal.
The Rhapsody song, my favorite song out of everything that's up there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's probably my favorite out of the whole album. That joint with Rhapsody, man. That's a deep one.
Definitely. Yeah, it's really like it's so raw, you know.
Her perspective was the way she wrote. I mean, man, like that was an incredible perspective how she wrote that, man. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting to hear that angle. Like I rewind it whenever, after it's over. I replay it, man, all the time. It was pretty dope, especially for those that have children, man, and are not with the mother of their children, man. So
yeah, it's raw, it's uncut, unfiltered, raw emotion. So, all right, that's Busta Bust. We won't spend any more time. Everyone knows Busta, but someone that not everyone knows is Sleep Sinatra. So we wanna elevate Sleep Sinatra tonight. Get to know you, and let's start with the name. Like, from the first time I saw your name, I think it was like on a compilation. I saw it and I was like, man, this dude's got a dope voice. And then I saw the name. I was like, oh, this dude's got a dope name. I was like, I wonder if he makes dope music too, So how'd you get that name, Sleep Sinatra?
I'm glad that you asked that actually. So Sleep, not a lot of people know Sleep is actually an acronym. Stands for Survive Life, Examine Every Perspective. You know what I'm saying? It didn't start out as an acronym originally. I had a cousin when I was little, first starting to rhyme. When I first started writing, probably around like 12, like 11, 12 years old, my cousin nicknamed me Sleepy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I probably started hitting the tree around that time too. I was a bad kid, man. You know what I'm saying? That's that. It tied in. You feel me? So I had a cousin that nicknamed me Sleepy, and as I started to develop myself as an MC, I shortened it down to Sleep, and then I created the acronym with it, just because that's
Mm.
kind of the way that I approach rhyming. You know what I'm saying? I try to be insightful and provide introspection when I rhyme. And the Sinatra part of it, let's see, I was in a group called Source for Hire when I was younger, probably like 16, 17. The cat that I was rhyming with was like, man, your delivery's real smooth. You sound like a Sinatra on the mic. You know what I mean? I'm gonna call you Sleep Sinatra, and it
Oh,
just stuck, man. So that's how Sleep Sinatra came to be. That's the origin story. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's dope.
dope. That
That's
is
dope.
dope.
So, and you're from Nebraska, is that right?
Yes,
What
sir.
what what part of
Lincoln,
Nebraska?
from Lincoln, Nebraska. It's the eastern side.
Lincoln, Nebraska. So that's really, I think that's probably really interesting to a lot of people because you think hip hop. Oftentimes, you think New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Atlanta. You don't think Nebraska. Typically, people don't think Nebraska. So,
Facts.
can you walk us through like how did you get into hip hop? Do you remember like an early moment of when hip hop, kind of captured you?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I kind of grew up around hip hop, you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? I have early childhood memories of my mom and her boyfriends playing Tupac. I
hmm
would be traveling out of town and I had an uncle that would play ATLiens and the Aquemini record, you know what I'm saying, the whole way to the point that I started memorizing some of the lyrics when I was younger. I remember, I have vivid memories of being little and my cousins listening to paparazzi. You know what I'm saying? The exhibit joint paparazzi and
Yep, yep.
some older Woo. You know what I mean? And it just kind of, and at that time, like I was a youngin'. You know what I mean? I was probably like 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, hearing these joints, and I think it kind of just embedded subconsciously. And as I got older, I went and sought out the music that I was hearing, and I just became captivated by it, man. You know. I think I started writing somewhere, like I was saying earlier, around maybe 11, 12 years old is when I started experimenting with writing. I mean, it started out, like I said, I would memorize different verses from cats and, I would alter a couple little words here and there. And just really from there, I started figuring out bar structure and
Yeah.
patterns and actually how to go about creating my own rhymes. And I mean, I haven't stopped since, man. I've been steadily trying to evolve.
Do you remember any of the early songs that you memorized
Oh
from other
man.
artists?
Let's see. Let's see, man. Definitely paparazzi was one of those.
Yep, yep.
You know what I'm saying? Shook ones. You know what I'm saying? Shook ones was one of
Yes.
those. Uh Man, plenty of Pac songs. Plenty of Pac songs. Man, I mean, really, I mean, a lot of AT Aliens too. A
Yeah,
lot of the
yeah.
AT Aliens album. Because I listened to that. Like I said, I had an uncle that would drive me out of town to see some family members, and he would just play the whole album through on repeat. It's like a 3, 4 hour drive to where I was going. You know what I'm saying? And I became very familiar with that album, from the skits to, you know what I'm saying, all the like the organized noise production. You know what I mean? That spaced out sound that
Yep,
kind of
yep.
plays into my production style now. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I resonate with that because when I was younger, getting into hip hop, I remember memorizing, other artists' lyrics and thinking I was so cool, and
Yeah,
just loving it.
yeah.
I'm curious. We got a new MC, got Kaz Meta in the house, and
Mm-mm.
Profound or Kaz. I'm curious to know, like, was that part of your upbringing too? Like getting into writing? Would you memorize other artists' songs and verses and rap those? And do you remember any of the artists or songs that you memorized?
Go ahead, Cash. You muted, bro.
Yeah, you're muted, buddy. There we go.
Boom.
What up,
Uh,
Cash?
what's
Going
happening,
on,
y'all?
Pat?
Chilling.
Chilling, man. Early songs that I memorized, probably like early Snoop and Dre stuff, Ice
Mm,
Cube, Pop, Cypress Hill, House of Pain, that
yeah.
whole, any of those. I mean, probably probably could go on, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Profound, did you do that coming up?
Heck yeah, man. What you mean? Standing by the speaker. Suddenly I had this. Fever wasn't me either, because I'm a madness. And I just can't stand around. So yeah, man. Okay. Rakim, Move the Crowd was the very first thing that I memorized like that. And by the time 92 and 93 and 94 came around, I was memorizing everything along with writing my own. But yeah, man, heck yeah, that's what you did. That's the same thing as a producer. You know what I'm saying? I learned from other producers. Shout out to Tony Baines, my original mentor, and No ID and Doug Inf and everybody I learned from, man. But you learn, like how you learn, you kind of emulate who you're learning from until you develop your own style or whatever, and then you go off on your own.
Yeah, I don't remember the first song I memorized. I just remember being so excited about. I forget the song. It was the theme song from New Jack City by Ice-T, and it was just real like adrenaline rush.
I'm Hustler, wasn't it? Yeah. New Jack Hustler was the name of the song.
Yeah. That's right, man. I love that song. Man. I still love that song. All right, so Sleep, you're growing up, you're memorizing these lyrics, you're getting into it, you're starting to write. Do you remember how you recorded like your first music, your first song?
Man, hell yeah. That was a real formative time for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, at the point in time when I started fully writing out original verses, I was probably like 12, 13 years old. I'll never forget, man. Shout out this cat, Marcus Dupree Franklin. I'm pretty sure this cat's doing a bid right now, but he was about 20 when I was 12 or 13, and he was recording music. And we used to chop it up just about hip hop all the time. And one day he just kind of brought it to my attention. He's like, man, I got a recording program. You know what I'm saying? If you ever want to try to lay something down. And he showed me some of the songs he was doing. And this cat was singing too. You know what I'm saying? He was rhyming, but he was harmonizing with it too. And man, I was just captivated. So that was the first person that ever really gave me the opportunity to record my own music. And I remember I cut like some little 3 or 4 song demo, you know what I mean? Real rough, just not really knowing what I was doing, but I was so excited to be creating. You know what I mean? That was the first time I ever really recorded some music. And after that, it was probably some years until I started recording again. I moved from a smaller town back to Lincoln. And I was just, I was writing the whole time. I just didn't really understand the process of how to go about creating and recording myself. Until I think about 16, 17, I formed a group with a homie. And then we got Magix. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Magix program. Just some real like low tech, DIY type shit. Got a little USB mic, you know what I mean? And just started, man. We would spend whole summers just getting smoked out and staying up in this little room at his uncle's house and perfecting the blades, man, just sharpening the craft and experimenting with different cadences and, you know what I'm saying, developing the voice, developing the style. That's how I got to where I'm at now.
Yeah. So speaking of where you're at now, you're achieving, success in your music, different levels of success. What have been some of the challenges between when you first started out to get to where you are now?
Oh man, I mean, not so much of a challenge, but something that I've been able to perceive as far as like evolving is having the ability to maintain your integrity and your freedom with what you're doing artistically. You know what I mean? Because especially like in this underground circuit, it's weird. A lot of cats feel like there's like these little boutique labels that have been popping up everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them just think of it as like a quick strike type of deal. Like, oh man, I'm going to put this album out and they might give me this, or they might give me a vinyl look, or I might be able to get a Bandcamp article or something. You know what I mean? They think that's the move. And I'm not, by all means, however you get it is how you get it. But I just feel like, a lot of people are starting to pander to things like that and feeling like the only way to go about it is I have to release it through this boutique label, or I have to get this look from this certain affiliate or this collective or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's not the case, man. Like I've worked with these boutique labels too myself, you know what I'm saying? I've gotten a couple different vinyl situations through these little indie labels, and some of them didn't play out too well, you know what I mean? Because I didn't really understand the business side of things up until these past couple years. You know, I was just really a new booty in the game trying to figure my way out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just happy to be here.
Yeah.
But you know, it comes a point in time, especially when you're trying to legitimize yourself as an artist, that you really have to think about, you know, how you're going about things business wise, of what makes sense in a business aspect. So, yeah, man, I don't think it's necessary.
What are there some things that you've learned? I know you mentioned like the last few years, you feel like you've got a better footing on things. Like, are there some pretty major things that you've learned that has really helped you?
Yeah, man. I mean, just you know, being in control of your art
Hmm.
is the most important thing, man. Not compromising your art, like I said, for the sake of a look. Understanding publishing, you know what I'm saying? Understanding
Hmm.
how different ways that you can monetize yourself and get paid without having to go through a third party.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Without having somebody else in your pocket, or feeling like you have to depend on one of these boutique labels to drop vinyl, or to drop a CD, or to drop cassettes, whatever physical format it is. You know what I mean? That's not necessary. I'm not knocking anybody that does that, because
Right.
you know what I mean? I probably still will. There's still some labels that I have a good rapport with. It's just like it's not like a do or die type of thing. And that's
Yeah.
something I learned within the past couple years. You know what I'm saying? Because I was one of those cats that's like, oh man, I have to, in order to get this vinyl drop, I have to tie in with this label, or in order to, you know, this visual get the proper looks, I have to be associated with this collective, or you know what I mean? That's just
Right.
those are the type of things within the past 3 or 4 years, I really started to take a different look at. And you know, the more independent you can be, man, the more freedom that you have.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. I'm also curious to know about just your environment in Nebraska and how that has both been a challenge for you, and also has it been a benefit to you as well? Can you kind of speak to that paradigm?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. So like I said, I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. That's the eastern part of Nebraska. It's a lot more urban than like the rest of the state. You go the
Mhm.
further west you go, it's a lot more. I mean, basically what you would think Nebraska: cornfields, farms, shit like that. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But you know, I come from the north side of Lincoln, and that's definitely more of an urban environment. You know, specifically where I'm at now, it's considered a food desert. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
There's a lot of societal factors that go into making me who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like there's definitely the same things you see in bigger cities, man. Gang activity, drugs, um, all of those things, man. So I mean, like having the out what can be a challenge is, at least what I found as a challenge initially, was being taken seriously coming from Nebraska. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Cats aren't necessarily gonna take you serious. Like, oh, you from Nebraska? Like this cat's not like he's not spitting, or he's not authentic because of where you're from. But you know, all it takes is a little bit of research, especially once I have heads from outside of the state come here, because I also was curating a show called Good Gospel. I
Mm.
was able to do 18 volumes of that prior to the pandemic hitting. And I was able to bring some cats from out of state, like my homie Stick Figure, shout out Stick Figure.
Hey.
Uh, I
Dope.
mean, my homie Taylor Banks from Iowa. Let's see, a few other heads, man. But yeah, once you're able to bring people into the environment and allow them to see that there's actually culture here, it kind of creates a different narrative for people. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
initially, a big hurdle to jump over was just getting people to take the craft seriously and understand that like what I'm doing is legitimate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you know, I'm able to carve my own lane, man.
Yeah.
There's MCs in Lincoln. Don't get me wrong. Shout out my homie Hakeem. That's another talented dude. Honestly, if anybody's gonna blow on like a mainstream level out here, it would be that cat. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
um, I feel like me and him are kind of the yin and yang in Lincoln, as far as like me being on the underground circuit and that cat being on like more of a mainstream level with things. There's a plethora of people out here that are talented, man. So there's not very many people that are in the lane that I'm in, though, as far as like, you know, underground, like sample based boom bap
Yeah.
type of hip hop. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I'm able to create my own lane here, and there's a fan base for that. You know what I'm
It-
saying?
yeah, I want to ask you about that. Like, are there artists that will stop through Lincoln, like when they are on tour and stuff? Like, will you get like a Wu Tang member? Would like Busta Rhymes come? Like, what kind of MC would stop through Lincoln, Nebraska to do
Oh
a show?
man, you remember Buster said on Genesis, Omaha, what up? I don't know if you remember that or not. You know what I
I
mean?
don't
Mm-hmm.
Bus,
remember.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Buster's been through here.
Dope.
Ghostface has been here. Planet Asia's been here.
Oh,
Let's
dope.
see. Man, I opened up for Freddie Gibbs probably like 3 years ago. I've
Mm-hmm.
opened for Slum Village, Lewis
Nice.
Logic. I mean, my homie Stick. Again, we've done maybe 2 or 3 shows out here. There's been quite a few artists that come through, man.
That's dope. That's dope. It's like the Midwest takeover of the Boom Bap Chat because we have Stick Figure on next week.
That's
So
dope. That's the
yeah,
homie, man. Shout
yeah.
out to him.
He's
Shout
so
out to
ill.
him.
He's so
He's
dope.
good people. He's
Yeah,
good
for
people for
sure.
sure.
For sure. All right, let's check in with Profound. Profound, what's on your mind, man?
Oh,
What you got?
man, sleep, man. MC to MC. I'd like to know, man, can you speak on um from your perspective as an MC, can you speak on the climate of social injustice in your area where you
Mm,
from? I mean, me being from Chicago, I don't live in Chicago now. I'm in Florida, but I still got my ear to what goes on back home. I know where everybody is, things are kind of different. I just want to
Right.
know, like, can you give me a perspective as an MC, like what you experience and like where you live?
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely there's some when I first started getting into the local circuit as far as hosting shows, curating shows, and just being able to get on lineups, you know, the majority of people getting booked out here is like some folk rock. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Uh, at least it was about 5 years ago, I would say. The majority of venues was only looking for like rock and folk rock, bluegrass, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Like they knew hip hop was here, some bigger name acts could get billed and headline easily, but as far as local, they wasn't really taking it serious. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely a hesitance and a bit of a resistance with just urban culture in general. You know what I'm saying? And then you have the whole, I mean, since the George Floyd situation kicked off earlier this year, like I was speaking on a little bit earlier, the youth here specifically, man, have really been holding things down as far as letting their voice be heard. And there's been a lot of protests going on. There were some riots in Lincoln this summer. Um, like there's definitely a lot going on societally here that plays into uh, you know, the accessibility that hip hop artists have. There was actually a venue in Omaha. I'm not gonna say the name of the venue, but they stopped booking hip hop acts completely due to an altercation where somebody had got shot in proximity to the venue. It had nothing to do with the hip hop show that was going on at the night that happened, but because it happened while a hip hop show was going on, they automatically associated it with that crowd, even though nobody there knew the cast that was doing the shooting. You know what I'm saying? So there's kind of like it's a pushback, man. Like I said, it's a Trump state. It's a real conservative state, real passive aggressive as far as like racism goes. So they have a funny way of going about blocking us out of certain venues and blocking us out of certain opportunities, man. So that's been something that's been a constant battle, not just for myself, but for other MCs here to legitimize ourselves and prove to these venues that we can pull out the numbers. We can have a good turnout. We can have a positive turnout where there's not fights and crazy things happening. You know what I'm saying? So that's, yeah, that's to in a nutshell, that's kind of what's going on societally here, and it's been getting better as the years progress, because a lot of us, like myself, had just decided, we don't need these venues to dictate what we can or can't do. I just put it
yeah.
upon myself. I created a DIY show. um like the reason that my show was called Good Gospel, it was a DIY venue that it was created in, that used to be a church. It was a church that got
Mm,
repurposed into a venue, and it was just two people that decided, they want to help out some local musicians. It was maybe like 20 people our first show. You know what I'm saying? The last one prior to the pandemic hitting, well over, it was probably like 150. You know what I mean? So it's like it's definitely been a long process of chipping away and establishing ourselves as far as legitimacy goes.
yeah, that's great. Do you plan to start that back up when you safely can?
Yeah, definitely, man. I had some big plans. I wanted to do like a festival for Volume 20. You know what I mean? We're at
Oh,
Volume 8
dope.
right now. We were starting to bring in some out of state acts. We had a group, New Black City from Kansas, that came. My homie Taylor Banks from Iowa just shut down the last show that we had.
Mm,
We started gravitating in between Lincoln and Omaha. We were hosting Good Gospels in Lincoln and in Omaha.
oh,
So that was
nice.
yeah, man. That was a good look. Definitely plan on expanding on that more.
So if there's someone out there listening that is kind of in a similar situation, like they're in a smaller place, um, what advice would you give to them around like cultivating, a hip hop scene in their own city, or in their own town or whatever? If they feel like, ah, man, there's nothing here for us. Like, what would some advice be to help them out?
My bad. I had to make sure my phone's situated right.
Oh, you're
Uh,
good.
I mean, basically, just don't get discouraged. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Just don't get discouraged. Don't get disgruntled by what's going on. You're gonna want to give up. There's plenty of times I rock shows that might have just had the other performers in the crowd. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And I'm sure that
Yeah.
goes with everywhere. That's kind of a
Yep.
universal you in this underground circuit. Uh,
Yep.
Especially, I mean, with the lane that I'm in as far as like underground goes. It took a while for people to catch on and to understand what I was doing. So my advice, if you in a smaller town, smaller city, or in a location that's not really known for hip hop, man, just stay consistent, be original, and stay hungry and driven, man. You just gotta
Yeah.
search for those opportunities and be willing to put the work in and be willing to cut your teeth and establish that groundwork, man.
Yeah, and rock the show for one person. I remember I was we did a home show at this dude's house, and like he lived with some other dudes. It was like bachelor pad type of thing, and like I think there was three guys that lived in the house. One was like out of town, so he wasn't there. Then one like brought his girlfriend, and that's all who came. It was just the two dudes and the girlfriend.
Then
And
that,
we rocked it, man. We put on a show for those three, and like just totally tore it down. Like you got to connect with people, make a good
Hmm.
quality experience for people, regardless
that,
of who shows up. So that's cool.
that.
Well, let's jump into your music. Can you tell us, like, all right, you mentioned some music that you recorded, just like kind of getting started. Was there kind of like a first project for you that was like, this is my debut project? What would that be?
Mm. That's a good question too. I mean, there were several of those when I first made them. I thought like, okay, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? But then, uh, you look back, like I'm my own worst critic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So there's some music that I made that some people will still listen to now that isn't even a bit like you can't even find it now. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Unless you
yeah.
bought it or downloaded it or whatever.
Right.
Uh, because I feel like I evolved so much as an artist that it doesn't resonate with me creatively anymore. I would say the album that stuck with me that made me feel like okay, I'm really here and I'm doing this legitimately. In 2012, I released an album called Monsters and Children. That was the first album that there's I guess they're part of a radio station now, but it's a journalist forum or a platform, I guess you could say, called Here Nebraska that covers a lot of local music. And
Mm.
they did a 30-minute podcast slash analyzation of that album. And that's the
Oh,
first
wow.
time anybody had ever really done that as far as my music. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they went so far as to like really take a look at the lyrics and break down what I was saying, break down the concepts that I was carrying throughout the album. And that when at that point when that happened, and that was also the first album that I released physically. I made CDs and like I had a poster, some crazy cover art, you know what I mean, the whole nine. I really put
Yeah.
all into it. To see the reception that got, that was when I was like, okay, I'm here and I feel legitimate in what I'm doing, and now I can really take myself seriously.
Yeah. That's dope. Is there when people listen to your music, is there something that you want them to take away from it every time? Is there like a reoccurring vibe or theme that you're like, I really hope that people get this from my music? Is there something like that, or does it change on every project?
Now, I definitely think a main goal of mine when I release music, I try to make people think, man. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? I don't try to have very surface level lyrics. My goal with every 16 is to make you rewind. You know what I mean? To make you there's gonna be something that you may not catch the first listen. And I try to provide levels of depth. And there's also, I make music for the people that I love too, my partners that I came up with. So there might be some references that only they understand. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? There might be references to specific situations that happened that they gonna hear it and be like, oh man, I remember when that happened, or just certain things that I'm saying that only they would get. You know what I mean? But yeah, I try to have a level of intricacy in every 16 to really immerse people in what I'm saying, man.
yeah, that's cool. So
So
before we get into your latest project, I am curious to know kind of the format of like a lot of artists today are putting out albums constantly, like
right,
every week, every few months.
right.
Where do you kind of fall on that? Like some people say, no, you should put out an album, take your time with that out, put out great albums, even if it takes you 2-3 years to create. And other people are like, nah, just flood it, just keep putting it out. Where do you
Yeah.
fall on that line of thinking?
Um, Honestly, man, I'm probably somewhere in between. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because I mean, I have an album right now, that may or may not be done this year that I've been working on for maybe a year and a half. I've
Mm-hmm.
also released already like 5 or 6 projects this year, just rap projects besides beat tapes. You know what I'm saying? So it really depends on what I'm trying to do thematically, just how situations line up as far as being able to get features or production. Um, I take a different approach with every piece of music, man. It really just depends on how I'm feeling too. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If I happen to link up with a specific producer and they send me a batch of like 10 beats and I'm feeling all of them and it's just that vibe and I'm inside, I call it a pocket. I get
Yeah.
into these pockets of creativity where it's like, I might not write for 2 weeks, but as soon as I get the right sounds, I'll write like 10 16s in 3 days or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It
Right.
all just depends on whether I'm inside this pocket of creativity or not, that will determine the output. And I'm not ever in a rush to release music. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
though I may put out a lot, I'm never really in a rush. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It comes together when it comes together. And if it happens to come together fast, then that's the way that it lines up. But like I said, there's also projects that, I've been working on for years that may not see the light of day. There's a project specifically this next full length that I'm working on that, like I said, I've been working on for probably a year and a half that may not even come out this year. You know what I mean? So it varies, man. I'm somewhere in between
Yeah.
studying constantly and really waiting. It just varies, man.
Yeah. That's cool.
That resonates.
Go ahead, Profound.
That resonates just because I'm sleep. I'm with you on that, man. I feel like music is so organic that you cannot rush it. I don't feel like you should rush it. Now I know, the game is like I feel like oversaturated, like everybody rap now, but there still is a difference. Even though that everybody rap, everybody rhyme, there's a difference. And if you don't have that voice or that thing that makes you different, regardless of what you're talking about, then you'll be with the rest of the crabs in the barrel. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I think
Facts.
that resonates, man, just because I don't rush to put it out either. I mean, sleep. I just had my first technically official release on the 30th last week from an album I did 17 years ago. You know what I
Word.
mean? So,
It's
I mean,
dope.
but it's new to the people that haven't heard it, and everybody always asks me for my music, and because it wasn't officially released anywhere, you had to get it from me personally. But now you can stream it. But of course, it's 17 years old. But I don't look at it that way. It was like I put that thing together, with my heart and effort, and all of the producers that helped me put it together and saw my vision on it. Like, yeah, but I'm with you, man. If it's gonna take a year to release it, then I figure like as long as it's right for the artist, you feel
Yeah.
like it's right, then let it go, let it onto the world.
Yeah.
Facts,
That's
man.
that's kind of where I fall. Like if it's right for the artist, if you make a lot of great content and you want to put it out, so be it.
Word.
Um, and let the people decide. Like if you feel good about it, why not put it out? And if you want to
Yeah.
hold on to it and wait, that's fine too. Like do whatever is authentic to yourself. That's kind of how I feel. And
That's dope.
yeah. Yeah. So, so before we get into the project, there's another question about another conversation around where to put the music. You know, most recently, Joe Budden, went off Spotify. There's, a theory that you should sell your music exclusively for a while, then put it on streaming services. Some people are like, no, don't put it on streaming services at all. So I'm curious to know, where do you fall in that? Especially since I tried to find your stuff on Spotify recently. I was like, oh wait, it's gone. What's going on? So I'm curious to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, Till, man. So as you were saying, man, there's definitely some strategy behind that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Initially, I had every project that I released you could find on all streaming services. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until this year actually that I decided to just keep my features. You can find a lot of songs I'm featured on streaming services, but that's it now, and that's by design, like I was saying. Um, yeah, man, I just feel like personally, as artists, we should try to take away as many third party interactions as possible and just really keep the power ourselves artistically. Especially like, I don't know if y'all seen recently, Spotify is doing this thing where they'll boost you as far as like the algorithm goes in exchange for giving you a lower royalty percentage. You know what I mean? Something crazy like that. So where it's like you're not gonna get the looks unless they're taking more from you. You know what I mean? And that don't sit right with me creatively. It's like, man, we put our heart and souls into this only for this third party machine that a lot of people depend on because they don't know anything about Bandcamp. They don't know anything about like being able to manufacture things themselves. They're putting artists in a situation to where like I feel like they're getting pimped basically. You know what I'm saying? Like we put our all into this and it takes like 10,000 streams to make a couple dollars. You know what I mean? Like that math sounds off to me, man. So
Yeah.
where I'm at with it right now is you can only find my music on my Bandcamp. You know what I'm saying? All of my releases are on there, from the Monsters and Children album that I spoke on that dropped in 2012 up until my most current work. You know what I'm saying? And there's a Bandcamp for myself, and then there's a Bandcamp separate for my collective. And that's where the majority of our music lies in. Now, some of the artists within my collective, they might have some stuff on streaming, you know what I mean? But as far as like full projects that have been manifested, that's exclusively through the Bandcamp. And, we're still able to get, one thing I like about Bandcamp is the analytics. You can see the analytics in real time. You can see where people are listening. You can see, where people are buying things. I like the little community tab. I don't know if y'all got the app or not, but yeah, that community tab on Bandcamp is like directly from artist to consumer. So you can send messages directly to them, letting them know what you got going on. Like tomorrow, matter of fact, Bandcamp Friday, I'm letting all my merch go with free shipping. You know what I'm saying? I'm releasing a beat tape. You're able to send out a signal to people directly and have that direct interaction, man. That's something that you can't get through streaming.
Yeah. Do you take advantage of their subscription?
I've been thinking about it. A lot of cats within my collective, we've been thinking about doing something exclusive as far as the subscription goes. Like including some exclusive music. I think you can upload videos with the subscription thing too, like maybe some behind the scenes footage or just kind of detailing the process of creating songs. I don't currently, but it's definitely been a thought.
Yeah. There's I forget who wrote the article, but there's an article out there that made its rounds in independent music. 1,000, what was it called? 1,000 super fans. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It sounds familiar.
But I mean, the theory is simple. Like if you can just get a certain number of fans that will really invest in you by, they'll buy your work every year, then you only need to make so many pieces, of merchandise, and you can make a pretty good living off of that. I feel like Bandcamp really, supports the artist to try to get to that place, because like you said, it's one-to-one. It's like directly, to the fan or to the audience member. So that, I think Bandcamp is dope in that way.
Definitely. I call that the Mock Hami effect, man. You know what I'm saying? You get 1,000 strong fans, like that cat's putting out music at whatever price he wants to. You can't find his stuff anywhere. You know what I mean?
Now, how do you feel about, like, I don't know what you price your stuff at, because I didn't look that thorough at the pricing of your previous work. Do do you price yours super high or is it pretty standard?
Nah, I mean, it's nothing too crazy, but and I've actually worked with Mark in the past. We got a couple joints.
Oh, dope.
Um, yeah, my homie August Fanon really kind of changed my whole perspective with that. When I first started working with him, he was like, whatever you do, you shouldn't ever price anything under $15, $20. You know what I mean? Because it's not surface level stuff. It's like you're putting your heart and soul into these songs, and that should be reciprocated. Money is energy. You know what I'm saying? Like currency is a transfer of energy. So if you put an energy out into the world, I feel like it should be reciprocated to you within that core fan base. Like you said, if you got a thousand super fans or 100 super fans, whatever that saying is, like, then it won't be a problem for you to be able to put something out and see a return on it and feel good about what you're doing, because you know that it's resonating with people on that
Yeah.
level. So no, I mean, like, I'm not putting out like no $100 projects, nothing crazy like that. But if I drop something physical, it's probably not gonna be anything lower than like $20. You know what I'm saying? If I
Yeah,
drop,
sure.
like, you know what I'm saying, like these Voodoo Kit CDs, these are like 20 because I put in, like there's illustration, you know what I mean? Like the quality of what I'm putting out, I feel like should be able to be reciprocated, man, energetically.
Yeah, I feel that. I have mixed feelings around like the super high price, like $400 for a CD and stuff like
It's
that.
crazy.
On one hand, it's like whatever. Like if people will buy it, supply and demand, like great, make your money, make your art, price it whatever you want. But then on the other hand, this is hip hop and like you're pricing people out of, the music. However,
Right.
if they throw it on streaming services, I don't really care at that point, because if you give
Right.
people access to the music and then charge people $400 to buy a record, like okay, that's fine. But as long as you
But
are giving people access to the music, I feel much better about it. That you're not
yeah,
pricing people out. Like it was like that Wu-Tang album. Remember the Wu-Tang album that
yeah,
Yeah.
I
that's
mean,
crazy.
like again, on one hand, hey, do what you do. Like you're a grown man. I can't, who am I to tell you how to do your life? But on the other hand, it's like, come on, man, let people hear that
Yeah.
joint.
Especially when you got the legacy fans that Wu-Tang has, you know what I'm saying? Like cats have been listening to you for 20 plus years. Like I feel like at that point, once you have like a legacy fan base, man, go ahead and make that accessible to everybody, because the world wants to hear it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
It's not like you have just this small core fan base that you really curating to. The entire world wants to hear some new Wu, man. You feel me?
I gotta give it up to RZA. He made a ridiculous amount of money just to prove a point.
Yeah,
That's
word. That's
it. He
true.
was he was trying to make a statement, and it made millions of dollars making the
Yeah,
statement.
yeah, yeah. He made that statement. He
Yeah.
definitely made that statement.
That's wild. That is so wild. All right, so
Man.
let's talk about I think this is your most recent project. This is Voodoo Kit.
Yes,
And,
sir.
and are the beats all by Killer Kane?
Yeah, yep. The
Okay.
beats are can.
Yeah, tell us about Killer Kane. Who is Killer Kane?
Oh man, he's a super talented producer, beat maker based out of New Jersey. We had a mutual friend. I do music with this cat named Sequence. They have a collective
Mm,
called Soulless Recording, and it's just like it's a collective from all across the U.S. Sequence is actually located in I believe Alabama. You know what I
and
mean?
if I'm not mistaken, he put out a 3-4 song EP recently, I think. Super
Yeah,
dope,
yeah,
from what
that
I
cat puts
remember.
out he puts in a lot of work too,
Is
man. He
okay.
puts
Right on.
he puts in a lot of work.
Okay,
But yeah,
sorry.
I
Yeah.
initially oh no, you good. Yeah, I initially became familiar with Kane because of my work with Sequence. And I think Kane just DM'd me one day. It was like, man, I got this batch of beats for you. I just want you to hear them. You know what I mean? And then it's like one of those situations I was talking about previously. If the energy's there and Cat sends me a certain amount of beats and I just happen to feel all of them. That's kind of what happened with Kane, man. He sent me like 4 or 5 joints and I was feeling every single beat. So I just got busy and
Mm,
I was in a pocket of time too to where I wasn't really working on anything. I had been working on this other full length album, but I've been really taking my time with that and just piecing that together. So this was kind of something to just like revitalize the energy, man. And like it's something sonically a little bit different than what I've done before. it's definitely like some boom bap, but it's a lot more experimental sonically than what I've released before.
Yeah, that's cool. And
So,
how do you go about knowing like how many songs? Because this is 4 songs, right?
Yep,
How do
facts.
you go about figuring out like how many songs that you want to do for a project?
That's a good question, man. I think again, you know, it's just like honestly, it comes down to the energy. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
all comes down to the energy and how I'm feeling it at that point in time. Um, you know, I don't know. It just so happened that Kane sent me a certain amount of beats, and I was like, you know what? These all sound good together. Let's just go ahead and make this an EP itself.
yeah,
And like I didn't feel
That's
like it
dope.
needed any more. I didn't feel like there should be any less. Every single joint that he sent me, I was feeling, and that's rare for a producer to send you a batch of beats and every single one you like.
right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
yeah.
uh,
Even dope
yeah,
producers have 1 or 2 beats. You're like, ah, I'm not really feeling it. You know.
facts.
Uh, so what I think really works with this EP, just to give people, if you haven't heard it, it had like I would describe it has like this dirty soul feel to it. It's like
Mm,
this grimy feel, but a soulful feel too, and
mm,
like those two kind of work together, I think. And then even like some of the drums, like I don't know, man, it's hard to describe. Like it feels like it wants to be boom bap, but then at times it's like I don't want to go all the way boom bap. I want to hold back a little bit, you know.
yeah,
So like it just has that it has an interesting feel to it, you know. And a lot of times with EPs, like the danger is like if one song or one beat isn't matching the rest, it's like you know,
kind of
because
throws the
there's
whole thing off.
right. But with this one, you know, it's if you like one of them, most likely you're gonna like all of them. You know, it's kind of has that feel to it. And you mentioned earlier about how like you like to write so that people have to rewind in layers. And there was a lyric that caught me as I went back and listened to it on how to build a coffin. I
Mm,
wanted to ask you about this lyric, see what it
okay.
means. You said knowledge reigns supreme and it hurts your brain.
Mm.
Knowledge reigns supreme and it hurts your brain. What were you getting at with that lyric?
That kind of ties into that saying, man. Ignorance is bliss. You know what I mean? Like, uh, I feel like the more you know, the more you're gonna begin to question things about your
Mm,
reality, about your surroundings, about the way you perceive life. So with that lyric, what I was trying to say basically is that uh, being deep has its downfalls. You know what I'm saying? It has like to put it plainly. You know what I'm saying? It has its downfalls, man. To really think about things on a deep level, that could put you in a depressive mindset, man. Especially like the world we living in right now, some crazy times. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So
yeah, and it's weird right now because y- you know everyone can go deep in into truth and into just straight up lies, you know, and
yeah,
conspiracies that aren't true,
facts.
you know, but people will 100% believe them and think that like I'm a super intelligent, deep person because I know this thing that like doesn't even exist. And it's like, it's 2020. I keep coming back to that idea. Like it's 2020, nothing matters and
Right.
everything matters at the same time, you know? Like if you say
True.
it's true, well then okay, that's your truth and it's
Right.
going to be true, but it's not actually true, you know?
I think that's dangerous too. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, for sure. Yeah.
I definitely think that's dangerous too because there's so much misinformation that's running
Yeah.
rampant, and people are easily influenced, man. You know what I'm saying? Sheeple are gonna sheeple. You know what I mean? At the end of
Yeah.
the day, so it's like you saying, you know, it's easy to mislead people right now, especially.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah, for
saying? It's,
sure.
it's easy. It's easy to sound well informed, and yeah, come up with some crazy conspiracy theories like 5G correlating to the Rona, or you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
some
Yeah.
some off the wall stuff like that, man. So yeah, it's kind of a dangerous line to toe for sure.
So you know you sound like you have a balance, you know, to you. Do you get that from, you know, reading? Do you get it from mentors? You know, strong family. Like where where do you subscribe that to?
Um, Man, it's a combination of having a difficult upbringing, kind of
Mhm.
forced me to grow up early. And also, yeah, I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of knowledge of self, man. I have
Mhm.
some mentors within different thought practices that I talk with. Um, I just try to be a student of life in general as much as I can, man. And if it correlates within the music, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to.
Dope.
That's dope. That's
That's
dope.
dope.
Another song on the album is "A Thousand Bottles," and someone Monty in the chat tonight was asking about that one specifically, and I'm curious to know if you could provide, some backstory behind that song.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So in my early 20s,
Early, you still there?
oh,
Sleep Sinatra
Hey
has been
there.
abducted by G4.
Hey man, what is hip hop without technical difficulties? Y'all are used to this. Y'all know how it go.
Yo,
You
what was
know,
funny? What was funny
get
is
on those
like
attitudes.
it was funny because like he knew it was about to happen.
Yeah,
He's like,
it's like yo.
oh no. That's great. Profound.
Yeah,
Since Sleep
let's
Sinatra
do it.
is trying to get back on here.
Yeah,
What
yep.
what are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts on Sleep Sinatra so far from what you hear?
Man, I like him, man. I like him, man. I definitely gonna be building with him, outside of this forum and platform, man. You don't find many. You don't find many like him. You don't find many with the attitude and approach, like that, man. And I can only appreciate it. Uh, MC to MCs, uh, in this time especially, man, is I think it's an interesting time for those of us that originally like came up in like myself and what some people are calling the golden era of hip hop or whatever, but um it's just it's a unique time, and he's absolutely right. And all his perspectives, I think his perspectives is dope.
Yeah.
I think he's
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And you mentioned um, growing up in kind of a golden era of hip hop, or you mentioned that terminology. And I've talked about this before. Like I really do feel like we're in a new version of that, a new golden
Yeah.
era of hip hop.
Hmm.
Um, and I think cats like Sleep Sinatra are like front and center of that movement because it's not a popular like back in the 90s and late 80s, early 90s, like the popular hip hop was the golden
Yep.
age.
Yep.
There
Right.
wasn't really underground. Like it was kind of all underground in a sense, in a
Right.
way. It wasn't super mainstream like it is today. But I think today the real movement is a little bit more underground. It's just like
Hmm.
this cat Sleep Sinatra's making things happen in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like that's super
Right.
dope to me. That
Yeah. Let me shout out to my man Randall Crutcher, man. He's in Nebraska, man. I grew up with him, man, in Bolingbrook, man, and um, like besides him and besides Sleep now, like I don't know anybody in Nebraska. That's what I like about hip hop is that, you always get in some obscure place, man, where they really love the culture or somebody really loves the culture, and then you just happen to meet a bunch of people that you may not have expected to meet in an area that you may not have expected to encounter them in, you know what I mean? And then
right.
that's how the community grows. Like me and you, like I didn't know you, you know what I mean? And
True.
then we come and we build, but people will see us and think that we've known each other for years, but it's
Right.
just the whole hip hop is the driving force. That's the connection. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, it's so interesting that, and I guess this is probably true of other subcultures. It's like once you find out that someone has that similarity, it's like, oh,
hmm
you're family. Like I remember there's a few people like in my life, like I met them. Like I remember meeting this dude in college. He had a Mud Kids T-shirt on, and if you're not from Indianapolis, you may not know the Mud Kids, but they were a hip hop group in Indianapolis, and not a big group. So like, not many people know about the Mud Kids outside of
hmm
Indiana. And he walked in to the dorm with a Mud Kids T-shirt on, and I was like, "Yo, this is gonna be my best friend right here. You know, I was like, no one else is wearing a Mud Kids t-shirt at this college. I was like, yo, you know the Mud Kids? He's like, yeah, I know the Mud Kids. And like, sure enough, like we're great friends to this day, you know?
Right.
There's something about that, you know, subculture of hip hop where it's like, once someone else is in the room that is down, it's like, you're gonna be best buds, you know?
Yeah. Like you didn't know me and Io knew each other. Like I thought that was so dope, man.
Yeah, that was shout out to Io Masmarad.
And not just know, like that's my brother. Like I know him well.
Yeah.
Look at Sleep, man.
Sleep's back.
You got the hip hop technical difficulties, man. That's why I told Till. I said, man, it ain't hip hop unless there's some technical difficulties somewhere, man.
Exactly,
man, bro. Yeah, I'm back. I'm resurrected.
Yo,
I'm back.
Yeah, you're good, man. Speaking of that, one time my internet went haywire on me, and we were interviewing Cool Kim for the UMCs.
Oh,
and
man.
Shout out to Cool Kim. He'll say this about himself. He's pretty long-winded, and it took me. I promise. It felt like an eternity, but it probably took me 5 minutes to get back on. Man. And I had asked him a question, and when I got back on, he was still answering the question. So I was just like, I don't think he even knew. So I got back on. I was like, oh, okay, right on, man. Hey, something else I want to ask you about, and just kept it moving.
Right. Hey, hopefully it didn't take me too long, man. I had a little difficulty. Had to make sure I jump back in, man.
Hey, you're good, man.
Hey, Sleep, you know, we got MCs that freestyle around here, man. We ain't gonna never have no problem, man. You know?
Right.
But while you were away, Monty put something else in the chat, another lyric, I think, from your project. Had to follow my problems to see we all exist.
Okay, so
yeah, I'm very curious about this because I have a feeling I know where you're gonna go. And yeah, so anyway, yeah, go ahead. Tell us what.
Okay, so actually, no, the correct form of that lyric is had to follow my problems to see they all exist. And what I meant by that is that's on 1,000 Bottles. You know, kind of tying into the question that you asked me prior to the disconnection. So in my early 20s, man, you know, everybody experiments. I got really deep into alcoholism, actually. And, you know, I'm happy to say I'm sober now. I'm doing a lot better and a lot better mindset than what I was. I was involved in a lot of things that were bad for me, you know what I mean? Spiritually, physically, and otherwise. So that song is kind of detailing those struggles and my mindset that went along with those. That lyric had to follow my problems, see they all exist. When you are deep into something like alcoholism or you're deep into addiction or anything that is consuming you negatively, you kind of in a state of denial, you know what I mean? It's easy to be in a state of denial when you just living day to day and only focusing on one thing just to get you through that. So that's just me saying more or less I had to acknowledge my situation in order to see the problems that were in front of me.
Yeah, that's dope. Did you experience like your struggles with alcoholism and your problems? Did you see those connect you to other people? Like, did you grow closer to other people through those struggles?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, man, I'm a product of my environment to a T, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it kind of went hand in hand as far as, you know, diving into the depths of negativity and, you know, being involved in street life, getting involved in the court systems, you know, being in and out of jail as a youth, you know what I mean? Like, it all kind of tied in with each other, with the environment and the people I was surrounding myself with. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that, like, I completely disassociated myself with some of those people. Like, some of them are family, you know what I mean? And I'll never turn my back on them. But it's just like they understand that I'm living a different path now. And there's nothing but respect there, you know what I mean? But yeah, definitely all ties together.
That's dope. So that project is Voodoo Kit, and people can check it out, stream it a few times, and buy it. Yep, there it is. So you can go to Sleep Sinatra's Bandcamp. You just Google Sleep Sinatra Bandcamp, it'll pop up. So you can check that out. So that was this year, not too long ago. What's next? You got something dropping soon? What are you working on now?
Well, actually, the next step as far as this process with Voodoo Kit, I'm actually going to be releasing a 7-inch for that project. I'm gonna be releasing it on tape with the instrumentals. So that's gonna be dropping through Gully Galleria. That's like a DIY, just like a brand new indie label that's out of New York, I believe. They're gonna help me distribute some of that stuff and manufacture it.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. So after that, the album that I've been referring to throughout this whole conversation that I've been working on for a little bit more than a year that I'm not really sure is going to drop or not is an album I'm working on with August Fanon called Routes. I really feel like that's going to be my strongest album to date. You know what I'm saying? I probably say that every project. Like I know that's a tendency for MCs. Oh man, this will be the magnum opus. You know what I mean? But I really truly do feel like where I'm at lyrically, where I'm at as man in adulthood, what I understand musically, everything up until right now, is kind of leading to like this pinnacle. And I mean, I might reach another tier after this, but I really feel good about this album. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing some different things on there. There's some harmonies, you know what I'm saying? The features are crazy. I don't really want to talk about the features and spoil them or anything like that, but the features are crazy. Man, I'm really proud of the album because I really took my time with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's great. Can you tell us kind of the vibe of the album? Does it?
Yeah. So the album is called Routes, and
Yep.
that kind of plays out thematically throughout the album. I don't ever do like literal concept albums where it's like every track is pertaining to one specific concept or like a story.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Not anything like too particular like that, but it's more or less like when I say routes, it's like the decisions, the pathways that you make in life and where those lead you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
all of my music has a real introspective feel to it for the most part, but this is like just feel like it's different, man. It's jazzy. Like I said, August has them real jazzy, like smoke lounge, like hard rain and then in the middle of the night type vibes with his production. You know what I'm saying? That's as far as sonically speaking, that's what it's gonna sound like.
Okay.
There's a lot of feelings of like triumph throughout the album. It's like something that resonates throughout it, man. Like a feeling of overcoming. That's how it speaks to me anyway, as I've been listening back to it. So yeah, man, I think that man, it's something different, but it's also like the next obvious step for me creatively.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And you talked about like this being your kind of your best project yet. I feel like that's the way like we should all strive. Like artists should strive to make their best work, like their next work their best work, like
Yeah, definitely.
it's not like
I try
And
to outdo myself.
If you in the moment, every project is gonna be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we really, if we focused on being present, I would expect every artist to say that particular project that they're working on is, you know what I mean, like their best work.
Right.
You right there in the moment. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's pretty dope, man. As I actually think about that, you right in the moment, because we do say that a lot as artists. We'll be like, oh, this is but yeah, it really is because you doing that right then.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, man. And it's like I try to outdo myself every time. I try to push myself and push the envelope every time. Because like I said, I'm my own worst critic. You know what I mean? Nobody is gonna be able to analyze my music the way that I can, because I know the creative process that goes on behind it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I mean, definitely when I released Sleep Effect, the last full length that I put out, I was like, yeah, this is the one. You know what I'm saying? Up until Route started nearing completion. Now I'm like, yeah, this is the one. You know what I'm saying? Because of where I'm at creatively, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, definitely just try to outdo myself, man.
Is there a date or a time frame of when you're gonna release it?
Man, I turned 30 this December. You know what I'm saying? So I want to try to maybe drop it on my birthday. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Give myself a little birthday present, but also I don't want to rush it. You know what I mean? And August, how he works, man, that dude is a creative savant. Shout out my homie August Fanon. I can't say enough good things about that brother, man. Like, y'all should see the amount of beat packs this dude sends me on like a weekly basis still.
What's his, how do you, it's August. What's the last name?
August Fanon, like France Fanon. I don't know if you ever heard of the book. I believe it's called Most Wretched or The Earth's Wretched by Frantz Fanon.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, man, definitely look him up. He actually he fully produced Mock's first like full length album, or like that came out on a grand scale, called HBO. I don't know if
Okay.
you've heard that or not. I think it's out there. I'm pretty sure it's on SoundCloud. I know you can hear some joints on YouTube. Check that out if you haven't, man, because
Yeah, for sure.
that's an excellent album. And just
Definitely.
through, you know, degrees of separation, we linked on that tip. We did an EP in 2017. I know I was gonna try to find the physical, but I think we did an EP somewhere around 2017 called Sanctuary, and that was when we first started building. And I mean, honestly, I guess we've been crafting this full length routes since then. So really,
Oh
this
wow.
has been in the works for like 3-4 years. You know what I mean? Just piece by piece. But
Yeah.
within the past year is when it really began to materialize, and I really was like, okay, we're making an album now, because
Yeah.
it was like we was just making joints and putting them in the cut. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And then some of them might not see. It might not make the cutting room floor. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
They're just gonna be in the cut. But yeah, man, that's definitely one of the best beatsmiths out there, just in terms, to me personally, in terms of an ear when it comes to sampling. That dude's got the hardest drums to me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a fan of like them Havoc, like them real hard, crunchy drums, you know what I mean? Like that's my steez right there. So that dude, man, I don't have enough good things to say about that brother. And he's really
That's dope.
intellectual.
Well, I look forward to checking out his work, and I look forward to hearing your new magnum opus whenever you release it.
Thank you,
So
man.
yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
I
for
don't know.
sure.
It may be this year, might not. Just we got to see how things align. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm anxious for people to hear it, but at the same time, I'm never gonna rush the creative process. I don't want to
Yeah.
put out anything that I don't feel like is fully cooked. Nothing half baked. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's dope, man. That's truly dope. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. So before we conclude tonight, I do want to ask you about some albums. So
Yes,
we
sir.
do this little segment called One Word. I'll flash an album cover up, tell you the title, and you just tell me the first word that comes to your mind. And
Okay.
if we need to linger on it, we can. Profound or Cass, if you guys want to jump in, just
Yep.
jump in. All right, so we talked about it earlier, but in one word, what would you say for the new Busta Rhymes album?
Nostalgia.
Yeah, thank you. I was getting ready to say that. Thank you,
Mhm.
brother.
Yeah.
Yep. Kaz, you jumping into this one, or you just listening?
He should.
I can't hear.
Cass,
Okay, all
man.
right.
Cass is cool, man.
All good. All right. Well, since we had to do, part two, let's go back to part one. This is Busta Rhymes extension level event, the first one. One word.
Formative.
Profound.
Thorough.
My word would be Knots, the producer Knots.
Man, come on, man. EA, man, Knots the ruler. What?
I gotta say,
what?
He doesn't get talked about enough. I think he's one of the all-time great hip hop producers.
Yeah, man, he's
I
up
agree.
there.
All-time great. He is so good, so good. All right, two more. This is At the Speed of Life by Exhibit. Which got sleep. Classic. All right, Profound.
Yeah, it's a classic.
I would agree. Classic. I think my word would be energy. He just had.
Oh, always with Exhibit. Yeah.
Yeah, he just had that energy to him. Just
got that raw. Just man.
X to the Z.
Yeah. All right, last one. ATLiens by Outkast.
Influential.
Okay. Profound.
Authentic.
Most definitely.
I don't even know my word for this one. Why influential for you?
Man, again, because that's a part of my childhood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I said, I remember my uncle putting that on and the intro coming on, and I'm like, man, when I first heard it, I'm like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? And these cats get to rhyme, and I never heard anybody rap like that before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it took me to a whole different world, man, from the wordplay and the lyricism to sonically what Organized Noise was doing, man. I was enthralled in it immediately. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I don't remember the exact situation, but because it's so long ago, but it was something with a girlfriend of mine, or maybe she just broke up with me. It was something bad happened.
Right.
And I remember this. I remember thinking like, oh, well, I just got the ATLiens album, so I'm good.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I remember this feeling. Like I had this situation with a girl and I was like, but I got this album, so I'm pretty happy.
I think another word that I would have used was soulful, man. Just got that,
Yeah.
It's got that soul to it. You know what I mean?
It does. It does. It's such a good album. Such a good album. Sleep Sinatra, how do you like people to follow you and keep up with you?
Oh man, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram is probably the social mediums I'm most active on. You know what I'm saying? Definitely there's a follow option on Bandcamp too. You know what I'm saying? You can follow me at my Bandcamp to stay tuned with everything that I'm dropping, man. Those are probably my 3 biggest mediums.
Cool, man. Really looking forward to this Routes album. Everything you say and describing it sounds like my cup of tea. So I can't wait to listen. If you don't know Sleep Sinatra's work, make sure you follow him and hit up his Bandcamp, stream some of the music and buy some of it. His new album, newer project that we talked about, Voodoo Kit with Killer Kane is up there right now. You can check that out. So make sure you support this man. Profound, anything you got coming up?
Man, y'all be on the lookout for the Profound and Sleep Sinatra. You know how you do. You just throw that out in the universe, and then it just happens magically afterwards. See? Bam. Cash you too. You see how we do it?
Yes, it's the Profound Sleep Sinatra album featuring Kaz Meta with all beats by MC Till. That's what's
see,
coming
that's
out.
how we do it.
Yeah. Say less, man.
Easy.
Less.
And make sure you check out that new, well, not new, like 17 years old, but new to you, Profound the MC. How can people find that? Profound?
For the Love is streaming on Spotify and Amazon Music under Profound MC EMCEE. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the knowledge on that, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. You know, I study 120. You know, I know how it go.
Word.
And make sure you
Yes,
check
sir.
out all of Kaz Meta's projects. He has about 567 projects out there streaming somewhere. So make sure you get those.
He puts in work, man. He puts in work.
He puts in work. That's right. He certainly
does.
does.
I got something new dropping tomorrow for Bandcamp Friday.
What you got, man?
Okay.
Just a little 3-song project with my man Genesis.
How many of those 3-song joints do you have so far?
This is volume 6.
Oh wow, you got to that many. That's dope, man.
Dope.
That's super dope. Yeah, so check that out. And I actually have a beat tape dropping tomorrow on Bandcamp called As Good As It Gets, where I sample Stan Getz, the horn player, for all the beats. So go to Bandcamp, pick your poison, buy something, and support artists on Bandcamp tomorrow for sure. Sleep Sinatra, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. If you want to come back next Friday or next Thursday, man, please do, because we got your guy, Stick Figure. We're actually going to be recording it on Wednesday. So if you want to join us for that, you're more than welcome. And then we'll air it live we'll premiere it on next Thursday.
Definitely got to come bug the homie Stick real quick.
Yeah,
man.
we got Stick
going on. Yeah,
man. And after that, we got Kyle David, if y'all know the 5Ds, and Kyle David's dope. Lex NYRE is coming up. Tab One, who put out a really dope project recently, and Ray West. If you don't know about Ray West, he's got some phenomenal music. Just put out an album with AG, OC's on it, a few other cats. So we got all that coming up soon. My message to Jay-Z and Nas for the Jay-Z and Nas reunion. That show has not been scheduled yet. They haven't hit me back yet, so we'll just see what happens. But all right, y'all. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.